The oldest woman in Multnomah County turned 108 today. Laureen Denwitty lives at Cherry Blossom Cottage in southeast Portland. She credits her vegan diet for her longevity and says it keeps her feeling good.
Nothing but fruit, vegetables, and nuts, and well, it's all there in the Bible.
Laureen is likely the oldest woman in all of Oregon, but that's not official because the state does not keep those records.
We know that heredity is a big factor in longevity. Probably 50% it rates as being that influential. I don't have a particularly good heredity. 3 of my grandparents died at 72. My grandmother lived to about 85. Nobody in my family has lived to be my age. Then, of course, you get into the matter of your lifestyle. And I think that one has to be at peace in his mind as well as in his, as well as have other good health habits. And perhaps that's the reason why the Seventh-day Adventists have this 7 to 10 years. They say they live longer than the average, is that I think they do have a sort of a peace of mind which they get from their religious convictions. I happen to be a vegetarian, and I think it has its advantages in longevity. I'm actually a vegan. A lot of people will say, well, where do you get your vitamin B12 from, and where do you get your protein from, and all that? But we know these days that that's no problem, really, to have a real balanced diet on a vegetarian diet. A lot of people get up and just run down the road, you know what I mean? With me, I'm not that disciplined. I have to have some structured form of exercise where I see some benefits of what I do. I go out and I'll prune a tree or mow the lawn or dig the garden or something like that. And I'll help my wife in the house even, run the vacuum cleaner, something that's active. They do say that being married is an advantage. In other words, a matter of social support, you know what I mean? And I came from a large family. That is, there were 6 siblings in my family, and I have 5 children. I think that that is a big factor, all right, in a person's peace of mind.
My son was born January the 14th, 1926. My daughter was born February the 14th, 1938.
Never been sick a day in his life. I was astounded. Some people argue, well, it's just Bernardo's genes. He has good genes. One of his family members, his son, didn't eat properly, and he did pass on much younger. That was in his 80s?
Yes.
So that's the sad truth about you are what you eat. What would you say are the most important lessons you've learned from your father?
Well, whatever my father taught me from the very beginning, he said that health should be your first priority. And in order to do that, you eat properly, try to make it timely, get your proper rest, and keep your colon clean above all. Because at the top of the list it says cleanliness is next to godliness. That means inside and out. So in order to keep it clean on the inside, you have to eat properly. And not a lot of stirred up, boiled to death food. Eat just what God left here for you. When God left the Garden of Eden, He left fruit and vegetables. No fried chicken, no spare ribs, nothing of that type. And they laughed at me, called me the rabbit eater and so forth and so on. All those people are gone. I eat vegetables, green vegetables, fruit, and good soup. And above all, which the body is made 70% water, I try to drink the right water, proper water. And I've been doing that now for the last 3 months, and I feel better than I've been felt since I was 50.
So the key is really alkalinized, ionized, electron-rich water.
That's right.
And this is the kind of water that would be available naturally, in artesian springs, but it's been so processed and as it travels through the city that, we need these additional tools. But that's the other thing about the food supply. Didn't food taste and look and smell better back 50, 60, 100 years ago?
Yes, oh yes, because first of all, there wasn't all those chemicals in it. My top fruit is blueberries.
Yeah.
That's number one. In fact, all the berries, but blueberries is tops. All the berry family, I go for that. And the next is cantaloupe. Cantaloupe is one of the finest, believe me. Cantaloupe, in my book, is next to blueberries. But blueberries is tops. I haven't missed eating blueberries in 20 years. Cabbage is one of the greatest vegetables you can have. Broccoli is next.
Is there anything that you don't like
In vegetable line?
in the fruit and vegetable world that you just don't want to touch?
No, I can't say there is.
Do you eat fruits? Do you eat nuts or seeds?
Nuts, I eat an awful lot of nuts. All kinds. That's right.
The other thing Bernardo's done is he's been sustainably high raw all his life for over 100 years. You've eaten this way since you were 4, right?
Since I was 5 years of age, that I can remember. My daddy had me eating properly, and I never changed. I haven't changed anything. I eat the same way. And they used to have had men call me the rabbit because I ate raw food and whatnot.
You've been a raw foodist for 104 years?
Almost.
Wow.
And the other key here, too, Bernardo is an herbalist. And that's his background. That's his father's background as a physician in Brazil. Bernardo helped co-formulate this amazing herbal superfood blend with Dr. Schultze that he's been taking for 30-some-odd years. It's what he does.
47
He helped Dr. Schultz?
Yeah, you knew him growing up as a kid.
I know Dr. Schultz all his life.
So Bernardo, as a morning, religiously every morning, he has a superfood blend, which is a blend of herbs. And it's interesting because his fruit salad is really palatable, so often you'll put the fruit salad mixture in with the superfood.
That's right.
And it makes a palatable breakfast drink, and that's what you've had every day in the morning, right?
Yeah, and you won't get hungry until 11 o'clock.
Right.
And if you're overweight, you're going to lose that. It's going to come down to natural.
And on another raw food front, the other thing Bernardo does is you eat well-managed portions several times a day on certain times. You don't eat too late, you don't eat too early.
That's right.
So what times do you eat?
Well, in the morning after I have my mile-and-a-half walk thereabouts, I will have my superfood and my tea. My cinnamon tea.
Oh, that's a big thing too. It has the.
Oh,
you actually get the cinnamon bark and soak it out.
That's right, and boil it, and make a tea out of it.
You have this certain ritual that keeps your skin, so great. You don't have any wrinkles.
No, that's olive oil. I don't have nothing hanging underneath like the average person.
So do you put olive oil on your face?
When I shave, after I shave, I put olive oil.
And this is also a really important point to know. I mean, you hear the way Bernardo's talking about how to make food look and taste good. I mean, you've been a 5-star chef. You're a retired chef.
Yes, retired after graduated from Sorbonne University in Paris and as a bona fide chef and worked on the liners for 37 years.
To what year?
Until 1947, 1957.
So Bernardo, actually, you have a blender and a juicer.
That's right.
So you have.
You make smoothies and stuff too.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And how much your diet would you say is green leafy vegetables? Or leaves?
2/3 of my diet is broccoli, collard greens, kale, spinach, asparagus. All those things I eat regularly, every day, not one day, every day.
And what do you say when people ask you where you get your protein?
Beans, black beans. Don't forget the beans. It's black beans and rice. That's a regular meal. That's a poor man's meat.
Right.
And I've been eating it all my life.
The way you do it, unlike other people, some people way overcook what they do,
that's it.
and you soak it overnight. You soak the rice overnight, and it pulls out the starch.
Yeah.
And then you lightly cook it just so it can be chewed on.
That's right. And even I soak my barley when I get ready to make a barley soup. Read up on barley. Tell anybody to get barley and find out what it does. It's been used from years back when the pyramids were being built.
Right.
And they used the barley soup to give the slaves strength. They worked like crazy, and they couldn't understand how they could do all that work just on barley.
The goal, of course, is not just to have a long life, but to have quality life. The goal is to keep a good quality as well as quantity of life. And the goal is to die as late in life as possible, right? One of my good friends, Dr. Howard Murad, always says, aging is a fact of life, but looking your age is not. And what are the things to do for a long, healthy life, according to the American College of Anti-Aging Medicine? Is eat a wide variety of plant foods, maintain a healthy weight, choose a diet low in fat and cholesterol, choose a diet with plenty of fruits and vegetables, and be moderate in the sugar, salt, and so forth. We know today that by eating less, you can live longer, cutting down on the calories. 50% increase in longevity in animal studies with 30 to 60% decrease in calorie intake. How many of you saw the National Geographic a few years ago when they look at the different cultures of longevity? The Okinawans, the Sardinians, and the Seventh-day Adventist population in Loma Linda. You know, in Okinawa, they have quite a bit of life expectancy compared to the United States. They have more centenarians in their country compared to the United States. Here are some of the active seniors in Okinawa that are very active in their exercise, and these gentlemen are over 100 years of age. He's a 103-year-old individual. And when they looked at the people that lived to be over 100 years of age, what did they see in Okinawa? They eat a low-calorie diet. It's a plant-based diet, unrefined carbohydrates, low in protein, low in sodium. 9 to 17 servings of vegetables daily, 7 to 13 servings of whole grains daily, 2 to 4 servings of calcium-rich foods, and a lot of that is in the form of seaweed. 2 to 4 servings of flavonoid-rich foods, such as green tea or soybean-based products, and 2 to 4 servings a day of fruit. They eat very little protein. In fact, it only makes up about 10% of their diet in the calories. And very little sodium, little or no alcohol, and they use healthy types of oils and fats. Here we have a typical 280-calorie meal in America and a 280-calorie diet in Okinawa, and you can see they get much more bulk, more quantity of food in the Okinawan diet compared to the hamburger. And that's one of the reasons Americans eat too much, because they're always hungry. They get all these calories in just small pieces of food, and they don't get satisfied. Another area is in the area of Hunza, up in the Himalayas. My friend Dr. J.M. Hoffman studied these people a number of years ago. The oldest recorded age is 130 years of age. A very pristine mountainous region. These gentlemen are all over 106 years of age. The second one to the left is 106 years old, and he walks 12 miles every day. And when you're in Hunza, you're walking up a lot of hills. Here's a beautiful, pristine, they're very physically active. Apricots is one of the foods that they eat every day in their diet, rich in antioxidants. They dry it and they have it fresh. And they do everything organically with their beautiful terraced ways of growing. Whole grain bread, the chapati, is used in their diet every day. When you look at their diet, a lot of whole grains. 80% of the vegetables that they eat is raw with the skins. 20% are lightly steamed. So most of the diet is raw. Apricot seed oil is used as their fat, and very sparingly because it turns rancid easily. Grains, buckwheat, millet, rice, corn, fruits, apricots, mulberries, grapes. You can see a very healthy diet. And animal products account for only 1% of their total calories. They do have a little milk, butter, and cheese, very sparingly. Small amounts of meat, averaging 3 ounces per month, which is nothing. Actually, they eat meat about 13 days a year, and the rest of the time they follow a vegetarian diet because they don't have refrigeration. And in the United States, we have the Seventh-day Adventist population. And Seventh-day Adventists are a great group to study because they don't smoke, they don't drink. 50% of Seventh-day Adventists follow a vegetarian diet. And studies show that vegetarian Seventh-day Adventists live almost a decade longer in life compared to the average American. This was a good friend of mine, Huldah Crooks, who lived to be 102 years old. She was a Seventh-day Adventist, climbed Mount Whitney every year in her 60s and 80s, and at 92 she was the oldest woman to climb to the top of Mount Fuji. And she attributed a lot of that not only to her good exercise routine, but her vegetarian diet. Jack LaLanne was raised a Seventh-day Adventist, and he says, exercise is king, nutrition is queen, and if you put them together, you have a kingdom. He also says, and in fact, Patricia Bragg and I had the opportunity to go to Jack LaLanne's house just about a few months ago, before his 94th birthday. A nice lunch with him. He's still keeping fit, still exercising regularly. And you know what he says? Dying is easy. Living takes a lot of work. You know, dying, all you have to do is sit around, don't exercise, watch TV, eat types of junk food. That's easy. But living takes a lot of work. And he says that exercise, he says, is a pain in the butt. It's hard work to do, but that's what it takes. Now, when we define aging, a lot of people think of wrinkles, sun damage, less hair, poor memory, poor digestion, reduced circulation. And aging begins at the cellular level. That's where it all begins. All cells have a membrane that protect the walls, and if those are compromised, then we start to age. And there's one scientific truth that we see, is that regardless of what causes disease or aging, the final common pathway is that there is a reduction in water in tissue. And there are many different theories of aging. I'd like to talk to you about one of them that was developed by a doctor I worked with, Dr. Howard Murad, called the cellular water principle. And water is found in the body in basically three areas. In the intracellular level, within connective tissue, and then there's wasted water, like edema. And that's the goal is to increase our intracellular water and connective tissue water and reduce that wasted water. Think of a grape. You know how nice a grape is? It's very moist and it's got all that moisture in it. And you look at a healthy cell membrane and think of that as a grape. It's got a great membrane. But what happens as we are bombarded by oxidants, free radicals, it damages and puts holes in that cellular wall, and the water is actually lost. Also, inflammation takes place, and we get damaged that cellular wall. Inflammation is from eating pro-inflammatory foods, like the meats and the cheeses and the dairy products and all those things, and we lose that moisture. The thing is to make sure that we promote our cellular health by eating foods that build it up with things that are rich in lecithin, healthy fats, the right types of protein, so that we can keep that cellular wall strong and keep the moisture in. Cellular water principle is a key theory in anti-aging. And one of the key things in this theory is that we need to eat more raw fruits and vegetables. You know, we say to drink 6 or 8 glasses of water every day, but the water that you get in fruits and vegetables is actually different than just the type of water that you get in drinking water. It gets into the cells of the fruits and vegetables very easily, and by eating a water-based diet, we can get that water from the fruits and vegetables, and it can go into our cellular tissue, into the cells. And not only that, is that the fruits and vegetables have antioxidants and they have anti-inflammatories in it. So a vegan diet, I believe, is really the ultimate type of diet for anti-aging, and particularly eating more raw fruits and vegetables and cooking things less.